Well, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to the Oval Office was a complete disaster, and he only has himself to blame. He visited the White House with the intent of signing a minerals deal with the US, which would have given his war-torn country a level of security by having a large American presence in Ukraine. But Zelensky ended up getting kicked out with no deal signed after instigating, yes, instigating, and I'll show you exactly what I mean in a moment, but kicking off one of the most explosive exchanges between world leaders that we've ever seen.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. Yeah, you're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you?
Now, of course, that is a clip that has gone viral, and it has lefty commentators jumping at the chance to call Donald Trump a bully. But this heated moment came 40 minutes into the press conference, and what the media won't show you is how Donald Trump set the tone of the meeting by praising Zelensky.
Your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave. And we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself in the sense that it's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting. They're great fighters, and you have to be very proud of them from that standpoint. But now we want to get it over with. It's enough, right? We want to get it over with. So.
Donald Trump even came to Zelensky's defense when he was asked why he wasn't wearing a suit.
And I do like your clothing, though.
Yeah, really?
Even though I think he's a great guy, by the way. But I don't know if you two like each other, but you know what? I think he's dressed. I think he's dressed
I like this guy. I don't know.
I think he's dressed beautifully.
So I have more serious things than answer on such questions. I will answer on more serious questions if I can. Yeah. So.
Now, bizarrely, it was this clear, sensible statement from Vance that triggered Zelensky into thinking it would be a good idea to grill the vice president about how diplomacy would work, something reporters are in the room for.
For 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And did you note there in Vance's statement, he absolutely acknowledged it was Russia's invasion of Ukraine. No one is questioning that. He made it crystal clear that their plan is for peace. It was after that reasonable and articulate statement from Vance that Zelensky decides to lecture the vice president on Putin's history and asks why they're even bothering with a diplomatic approach.
I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy? JD, you are speaking about. What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
What kind of diplomacy are you talking about? What an absurd question in that moment. Does Zelensky really not know what kind of diplomacy the vice president was talking about, or was he poking the bear, picking a fight in front of the cameras with the very people who are trying to end this bloody war? A war that has dragged on for more than 3 years, a war that has left nearly 1 million people dead or wounded, but it's difficult to find the exact figures. They're rarely reported on in the mainstream media. A war that has caused Zelensky to cancel elections and overstay his term. A war that has cost American taxpayers billions of dollars, so Ukraine has been able to fight back against Russia. But Zelensky seemed to forget that when you're accepting this enormous level of support from the United States, part of his job is to at least pretend that you appreciate it. Full credit goes to JD Vance for calling him out.
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
JD Vance is a force and was absolutely showing his strength. But lefties love an excuse to make out that Donald Trump and JD Vance are the villains. They're the ones trying to stop Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers from being killed every day in this war. Yet somehow, if JD Vance and Donald Trump stand up for themselves and their country against a foreign leader, well, that's crossing the line. Protesters took to the streets in Vermont expressing their anger at the vice president, forcing JD Vance and his family to relocate to a secret location.
He is recreating while thousands of people are losing their jobs, losing their health care, losing their funding.
This is a group of people who has always been supportive of standing with Ukraine. However, I think yesterday's performance at the White House has probably galvanized even more people to come out today.
After what he did yesterday, he crossed the line.
These unhinged people just want any excuse to attack Trump's administration. So if Zelensky doesn't believe that diplomacy can work, then what was he doing in the Oval Office? Wasting everyone's time. Now, Donald Trump says, I've determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America is involved. He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace. So who's going to save the day now? Well, British PM Keir Starmer, who has revealed that his idea for peace means more boots on the ground.
Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion. Fourth, we will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace. Not every nation will feel able to contribute, but that can't mean that we sit back. Instead, those willing will intensify planning now with real urgency. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air.
It's, of course, welcome news to see Europe stepping up, but the reality for Keir Starmer, if he wants to see boots on the ground, that is easier said than done. A third of 18 to 40-year-olds in the UK say that they would refuse to serve in the event of a world war, even if they were under imminent threat of invasion. That's according to a recent YouGov poll. So while everyone is blaming Donald Trump for firing up, perhaps the focus should be on the EU, who last year spent more money on Russian energy than on financial aid to Ukraine. A new report found that in 2024, Europe bought an estimated $22 billion of fossil fuels from Russia, but gave $19 billion in support to Ukraine. Now, finally, for everyone who still thinks that this stunt in the Oval Office that Zelensky pulled off was heroic, he's now revealed that the end of the war with Russia is very, very far away. What a message of hope to the people of Ukraine, to the people of the US, and what a message to Russia. Now, I just want to share this clip of an interview Piers Morgan did with President Bill Clinton in 2013, who insists that Putin has kept his word when America has been involved. And there is a difference between negotiating in private and in public, which is essentially the point Donald Trump was making.
We had a really good, blunt relationship.
How blunt?
Brutally blunt.
Ever fisticuffs?
No, but I think, I think the right strategy most of the time is, but it's frustrating to people in your line of work. You should be brutally honest with people in private. And then if you want them to help you, try to avoid embarrassing them in public.
Right.
Now, sometimes they do things which make it impossible for you to keep quiet. But by and large, I found all the people I dealt with appreciated it if I told them the truth. How I honestly felt and what our interests were and what our objectives were. And they also appreciated it when I didn't kick them around in public for as long as I couldn't kick them around. So, that's my experience. And
did Putin ever renege on a personal agreement he made to you?
He did not.
So behind closed doors, he could be trusted?
He kept his word in all the deals we made.